People I know will start to trickle in, but we'll go ahead and start by introducing ourselves and getting things rolling. So there is a question and answer section on here, so feel free to hop onto that if you've got some questions as we're going along, and we'll try to answer each and every one of your questions. There will be a lot of I read through the questions on the people that signed up and had some questions, and from what I could tell on all of those questions, we will answer them during this webinar tonight. So I hope you guys are going to enjoy this tonight, and we'll get started. So I'm Jeff Porter, sales manager with Utah Community Credit Union, and this is Brett Wild.
Hello.
Realtor with the Wild Real Estate Team. I don't know if you consider yourself the broker, but the main guy.
Yeah.
So
Under Keller Williams, we're brokers here with Keller Williams, and we're here tonight at the Keller Williams office. And so, yeah, we just run the Wild team, and we'll be excited to spend some time with you tonight. Sorry to interrupt you, sir.
No, that's perfect. Yeah, this is great. So, we popped on the next screen here, James, for us, and let's go through. So, Brett,
All right, here we are.
Yourself.
Okay, so yeah, happy to be here tonight. It's an exciting time to be in the market. Lots of things happening, as you're hearing. There's a lot of just fluctuations as far as interest rates and pricing out there. And so our goal tonight is that we're going to just get you all the information you can that's relevant to how to be competitive, how to structure an offer, just basically just kind of outline what you can expect as you're getting into the market. So so I've been in the industry now for more than 10 years. This is a little outdated. But before I got into real estate, I had a degree at Weber State. I did a sales and marketing degree, and then was in the corporate world for 5 years as an outside business to business sales rep.
Yep.
So enjoyed that brutal experience, and long enough to get some really good takeaways that we've been able to implement and add into our team's model. And anyways, from there I was doing construction, and but we built several homes, just under 100 custom homes here in the Valley, just after leaving that corporate job, and remodeled hundreds of homes. And so all that experience has just been very rewarding to bring all that to the table and help guide you guys through what to do, what not to do to get the very best return on investment, and also see solutions as the market's low in inventory, so you can just more effectively find the right place to live. And so anyways, just I love what we do. I love this community. I've lived here for basically all my life, minus a few years. So right here in Orem, as a matter of fact, I grew up. Anyway, have a few kids, 3 under 10, and just busy, but very happy. It's couldn't have ever designed a more fulfilling and better outcome than what we enjoy. So just grateful to be here with you and Jeff tonight. So let's turn the time over to you, sir.
3 under 10. Oh my word, they still love you and cherish you and greet you at the door.
Less and less all the time, but it really is fun.
Well, again, I'm Jeff Porter. Been with the credit union. It's actually almost 8 years now, and a long time in the industry. Been doing mortgages for a long time. Really enjoy it. That's a picture from 8 years ago, so I might look a little younger, not have my beard here, but anyway, love being in the mortgage industry. Love being able to help people with getting into home ownership. Fulfilling that American dream and allowing them to really just have a place of their own, and beyond that, helping them with some of their financial goals down the road in the future with getting additional properties too. And so loved working at UCCU. I've gone anywhere from been in the broker world in the past, and been with different companies. And when I landed here at UCCU, I knew I'd found a good home. And the main reason is UCCU can offer every single product that's out there. We've got the FHA, conventional rural housing, Utah housing. But in addition to that, we've got portfolio loans that we do for clients that don't meet the mold. We do construction loans for people who are looking to build, and then the lot loans to buy that lot before they start their construction. And then we do all the other programs you can think of. We got investment properties, second homes we do, and we can also offer grants and different things. So we're going to get into all of these items as we're going along tonight, but just want to let you know what great products UCCU has and why I've stayed and maintained my employment with them. It's just been so great. So anyway, we'll continue on here and start jumping into things. Hopefully, we can get all your questions answered tonight. So why should you use UCCU? I already hit that a little bit. We've got all the products you can think of under the sun, and we're going to talk about those products here in a bit. But a couple of the highlights, because we're a credit union, we give back to our members, and we simply just have really, really good pricing and rates on our products. It's a nice fit for the members that we have here with the credit union, and making sure they're taken care of. So, you talk about mortgage loan officers outside in the broker world. Gosh, these guys are, they've got a lot of overhead. They've got their place that they're renting or buying. They've got their employees. They got the different things they have to do. And within the credit union, we're falling underneath that umbrella. So we don't have these overhead prices or overhead costs that you would have. And we can turn that into giving back better rates. And on top of that, when you have mortgage insurance on a loan, we actually get a little bit better pricing on our mortgage insurance too. So that helps with your payment, bring it down just a little bit and make that great. And another thing that we do on all of our conventional loans, we actually keep those loans in-house. So it shows right up on your online banking. You can just click on it. You can see everything about your mortgage. You can make payments on there. You can pull statements, pull your tax statements at the end of the year. You can do anything on that deal. You can pay extra payments too.
That's right.
So
I gotta say too, Jeff, that's so convenient for me being a member to get all this information that I'm getting fed in my email as I go into the branch, but just have one dashboard where I can see all my accounts plus my mortgages with the different properties, and if I want to be more aggressive, paying them down. But I don't have to go searching in all these different statements and calling other people. It's so convenient.
It's really convenient. So we love being able to offer that to our members, and that's a huge benefit, I feel like. And then, once you have your loan here, you could literally walk into a branch to make a payment if you ever had to. Nobody really does that anymore in this technology world, but it is something that's available. So, I just feel like nobody's going to beat our high level of personal service that we give to everybody out there. And these are all just plethora of reasons to use UCCU. Let's go on here, and I think the next thing is going to talk about a little bit about getting pre-qualified. And it's probably important to note that we've got pre-qualified on here, but this is more like the pre-approval. And there's difference between pre-approval and pre-qualified. Pre-qualified is if you just take an application, you tell us what you make, you say this is about how much I have in the bank, and we look at that and go, yeah, that looks pretty good. That's kind of the start. Pre-approval is the next step. And pre-approval, you're providing your income documents, W-2s, pay stubs, taxes. You're also giving us, your IDs and your asset statements, and we're looking at everything, and then going through and doing all the calculations and saying, yes, with everything you've given us, we can absolutely approve you, and we can approve you up to this number, and here's what the payments would be, and we do all the calculations on that. And that's a full pre-approval, and that's really what sellers are looking for out there in the industry right now. They want to see that you've been fully pre-approved and that you're ready to buy their home. And if you haven't taken that step, then you're not quite where you need to be. And this year, we've actually taken an additional step beyond that, and we're taking your entire file and we're having it reviewed by an underwriter.
Oh, that's so awesome.
And we love this because now we know that the underwriter has gone through, we've looked at it, the underwriter's looked at it, and we know if there's anything that we're concerned about or that we need to gather up even before you make an offer. And so it puts us in a really good position that way.
Now, think about the perspective of a seller for a minute. How much more credibility and just desire do they have to work with you when your files have been pre-approved, it's been validated, Jeff has already looked at all your bank statements and the underwriting's been done, versus the other offers they may have received, because probably half of the people out there are still shopping with a pre-qualification letter, which was a quick 5-minute conversation over the phone. Here you go, here's your letter, go shopping. And then by the time they actually go under contract, there's all these changes, because oftentimes the underwriter's asking for additional items, or what you put on your application, there may have been just some small little details that were different, maybe just so small that were seemingly to you, but to the underwriter
That happens.
might have adjusted your rate and now you don't qualify. So it's such a confidence builder to know that when we go shopping, you're going to have that underwritten pre-approval, and we're gonna tell your story to the seller, so they understand that you're standing with a much stronger credibility than the competition.
Yeah. Now, how do we get this pre-approval done? Well, the first step is you're either going to get on the phone, go online with us and start your application that way, or meet us in person. And so we're going to take one of those, whichever one you feel most comfortable with or have the time for. Sometimes time is a big issue, but we've got different ways for you to start that process and get things going. And then once we go through and we look at everything, now we're going to start looking at different loan products. So let's go to the next screen here, James. Well, sorry, let me back up. So before we look at even the loan products, we do look at your credit report. So we're going to go in there, we're going to get the credit report. And one of the big questions that a lot of people have are, what's a good credit score? And what are you guys looking at when it comes to my credit? And there are different loan products that have different levels of credit scores. We've got a first-time home buying program that, as long as you have a 660 credit score or higher, everybody gets the same rate for that one, and it goes up to 102% financing.
Awesome.
We'll talk about that in a minute. But then we have other products where maybe you're going to put a little bit of money down, and those products you would want to have a little bit higher of a score to get the best possible rate at that product. You want to be probably a 740 or higher, but we'll go as low as a 620 credit score. So we've got different options for different folks. Actually, I take that back. We will go as low as a 580 credit score.
Wow, that's low.
So yeah, we've got different options for different folks, and we look at each individual person differently. So it really depends on the loan product that you need and what we're trying to get you into, depending on what your score needs to be. So don't discount yourself if you think your score is under 700 that you can't get a mortgage loan. That's not the case.
That's so good to know, because there's so many ads I'm hearing and people I'm talking to, and they think, you know what, I've got a small ding on my credit, or I just don't have credit history, and so there's no way I can buy a house. I had no idea that you could go clear down to 580.
Yeah,
That's
we've got a channel for that,
encouraging.
and it works out really well. So, but even with that, the higher the score you have, the better rate options you've got. So how can you boost my score is what a lot of people ask. And one of the big ones that we always like to talk about, you and I we've known this, we've seen this, we know it works, is revolving credit. So what's revolving credit? That's like a credit card or a store card, like RC Willie, for example.
Gas card.
Gas card, yep. So if you have a credit card, for example, if you don't have any credit or revolving credit, like one of these we just talked about, you need to get some right away, because 30 to 40% of your total credit score comes from the revolving credit. So if you've never had credit before in your life, the first piece of credit that you want to get is a credit card. Now, that doesn't mean you get the credit card and you max it out. That would be a big mistake. So the next part of this is you really want to watch how you use revolving credit. So if you got $1,000 line of credit, one of the things you never want to do is go over 50% of that, which would be $500. So really watch your balances and try to make sure that they never go over 50% of whatever the limit is you have available. And that'll be probably the biggest step you can do. The second step is credit cards actually go on a 60-day cycle. So everything that you make purchases on here in March, you're going to pay in April. Everything that you make purchases on in April, you're going to pay in May. And as long as you pay it before that April date, you won't pay any interest on that money that you borrowed, as long as you pay it off in full.
So there's so many details that go into to all these different strategies. Just be confident and assured that we'll walk you through that case by case.
Yeah.
There's no reason to become masters at all these little tricks and details we're talking about.
I
But
just
we'll
wanted to
get
present one, but
yeah,
you're right. You're
that's
right.
good. We'll get there.
And you know what? We want to hold your hand through this entire process. And you don't have to be taking furious notes tonight or be concerned, oh, what if I forget this? That's what we're here for. We're going to help you after this, but we want to give you some tips and tricks as we're going along and help you out. Um, Also, one of the bigger questions that I get are debt to income ratios. Well, first of all, what does that mean? I hear that. Well, that just means that your total number of payments added up, like if you got a credit card payment, an auto payment, anything that's reported to your credit report, if you add up those and you divide it by how much you make per month, that is your debt to income ratio.
Okay.
And so that number, we want to keep you under 45% of that total number. And that's going to include this new payment that you're going to have to buy your home. And so that's one of the big things that we look at when we're doing your loan. And we'll talk about that in really good detail as we're working with you on these items. So let's go to the next screen here. So how much do you qualify? Well, we're gonna look at all these things we were just talking about. We're gonna look at how much income you have coming in. What are the other debts that you have? What's the new debt that you're gonna have? How much down payment are you bringing? Is it going to be no down payment? Are you going to have a large amount, a small amount? There are different options. Prototypically, I would say that a lot of people right now, first-time home buyers, are coming in with 3-5% down, but we have options for no down payment. So there are different options that we can look at depending on your situation and what you need. And then depending on the loan that we're looking to use for you, there may be different interest rate options and some different programs. So what we're going to do is going to sit down with you individually, and everybody has a different situation, and figure out exactly what works for you. So just know that the one thing that we're the biggest thing we're worried about is making sure that you can feel comfortable with the new mortgage payment that you're going to have and not be house poor. The worst thing ever would be,
worst thing.
Yeah, it would be make you house poor and have you, yeah, I got this big, beautiful home, but all I can do is just sit in the front yard and watch people drive by because I can't leave. I can't go anywhere. I can barely afford to feed myself. We don't want that. We want to make sure that you're going to feel comfortable with that. And you're going to be the best person to know whether that feels right for your budget and you can afford it. So, but we're going to work through these different things as we're getting you pre-approved and make sure that everything feels comfortable with what you're going. And then once we've done that, now we know the range of what you can buy. And so now we've got that range, and that's when you're going to work with the real estate professional, the realtor, and they're going to help find that home that fits in your range. So let's go on to the next one. I think we'll talk a little bit about the loan products now. Yeah, so let me give you a quick overview of the different loan products that are out there. The first part before we actually talk about the loans themselves are there two different types. There's fixed rate and adjustable rate loans. A fixed rate means that you've probably heard, 30-year fixed rate. That means you're going to get a fixed interest rate that will never change during the full 30 years of that loan. But there are also adjustable rate loans, and we also call those ARMs, adjustable rate mortgage for short. Our ARM is the short of that. That one has a fixed rate for a certain period of time, and then it becomes adjustable after that period. So if you hear somebody saying, I got a 10-year ARM or 7-year ARM, that means that for the first 7 or 10 years, it's fixed, but then after that, it can change and that rate can go up. And so some people, why would anybody do that adjustable rate mortgage? Well, sometimes you can get a better interest rate using those. So depending how long you think you're going to be in the home, it might be worth it to do an adjustable rate mortgage.
Yeah, they're kind of coming back again, aren't they?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yep.
So for a long time there was no need to do them because the interest rates for 30-year fixed were so low. but these are starting to come around again. And, some people are like, this is going to be my first home. I'm only going to be there 5 or 7 years. And after that, I'm going to be moving out of state or going up to a bigger home, or, there's different things. And so sometimes you may want to do that adjustable rate mortgage. So we want to keep it all on the table and talk to you about those different options.
It's awesome that you have all these options too, because so many people are intimidated thinking, you know what, I'm going to buy this next home and it's got to be the perfect home and it's going to last me for 30 years, like the home I grew up with my parents. But the reality of it is, it's probably 3 to 5 years on average that people move. And so they're buying a home that works for this phase of their life. They're enjoying some nice appreciation, and then they're selling that with a good chunk of money now that they build up, and they're rolling it into the next one. So it's nice to have all these different lending options so that you can find the right product to get you in the market, because that's the most important thing to do today, so you don't miss out on the increased prices,
Right.
interest rates, and those types of things.
Right. And then adjustable rate mortgage might save you $10,000 in interest during the term of that 5 years or something.
Sure.
So, and that's real money that's in your pocket that you were using for other things. So anyway, so underneath those, either the fixed or the adjustable rate, you have different loan products. And the first one is conventional loans. Conventional loans are kind of the bread and butter of the industry. We use these a lot. And you probably heard the names Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Well, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are the governing agencies behind all the conventional loans that are out there. And they are just great loans where you can do as little as 3% down on these. They have very low monthly mortgage insurance associated with that when you're doing a small amount down. And just as a side note, mortgage insurance is an insurance that is included in your payment if you have less than 20% down. It's a nominal amount. It's not really that much in regard to conventional loans, but it protects the lender because you're going with a smaller amount down. That's really what it is. But once you get on a conventional loan to 20% down or more, then you can get that mortgage insurance off of your payment, which is really nice. So a lot of people will get into a mortgage. They'll have this mortgage insurance associated with their payment. They pay on it. They're paying it down, plus, the equity's going up on their home, and then they can either refinance or even just call into the servicer and request to have it removed. And suddenly now your payment's dropped. And you have a smaller payment than when you started.
Yeah, maybe by $150 or more.
Yeah. So it's kind of a cool little deal that conventional loans do that. So on here it says that they have stricter lending guidelines and maybe FHA. That's not as much true today as it was in the past. But there are some unique things that sometimes will pop up in conventional loans that maybe you don't have in some of the others. But you could see it vice versa anyway. Let's go to the next screen. So the next one is FHA loans. And FHA loans, that's Federal Housing Administration, is what that stands for. And they do as little as 3.5% down on these programs. Now, if you remember, conventional loans was 3% down. So that's a little bit more with the FHA loan. In addition to FHA loans are interesting because you have to pay the mortgage insurance on this loan for the life of the loan. It doesn't fall off at 20% down or when you get 20% equity. So that's kind of an interesting little deal. So why would anybody want to use the FHA loans? Well, they give you a little bonus. They give you a little bit better interest rate on FHA loans. And they're a little bit easier to get on their guidelines somewhat. So
lower credit score, lesser income.
Right. And so if you were to compare apples to apples with a lower credit score, you definitely would want to use the FHA loan compared to the conventional loan. So again, these are all things that a mortgage professional like myself is going to walk you through. We're going to explain these things and tell you and help you see which lending product works best for you and why. But underneath FHA loans, there is a program called Utah Housing, and Utah Housing is pretty awesome in the fact that they have no or zero down payment options, where you're getting 100% financing, and in fact, the first home program gives you an extra 2.5% towards your closing costs. So you can literally walk in and buy a home with no money on
zero
with that program.
Yeah.
And in fact, sometimes people, if they had to go in and pay earnest money, they can get the earnest money back at closing.
That's awesome. That's how I bought
So
my first home right there. Zero down, just out of college, didn't have a dime after spending all my tuition money and staying out of debt. I was so grateful for that program.
yeah, it's a great program. And it's a great program, and we can go through that in more detail if that fits what your scenario is. Let's go on to the next slide, and we'll talk about a couple of the other ones here too. So VA loans, that's a veteran loan, veteran affairs. So if you are a military veteran or have an entitlement, you can get a VA loan, and that is a fantastic loan. 100% financing, no monthly mortgage insurance, and probably the best interest rates in the market. So it's just great, and I'm glad that we take care of our veterans
Oh
in that
yeah,
way.
thanks to our service members. They
Yeah,
deserve it.
100%. So thankful for everything they do. So I'm glad that they get a program like that. Doesn't fit everybody, obviously. You got to be a veteran.
Right.
USDA loans. That's a rural housing product, and rural means not in a metropolis area. So right now, the only rural housing in Utah County is south of the Spanish Fork River or west of the
Jordan.
Jordan River, which is Saratoga Springs Eagle Mountain. That if you've been out to Saratoga Springs Eagle
It's not very
Mountain,
rural anymore.
it doesn't feel rural at all. But right now it's still that way. I would imagine that will go away pretty soon. But that's a great option because it gives you that's another 100% financing option.
It's great.
So it's really good.
UCCU has your portfolio loan that's different than these other zero down programs.
Yeah,
What's
yeah.
tell us about that?
Well, we'll get to that here in a second. Go to the next screen here real quick for me, James. Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay. So before we start your slide, we're gonna hit on that. So those are the main products that are outside of it. But we have an additional new program. It's called the UCCU 100. You've probably seen it advertised as members that's out there. And that's a 100% financing program that is just a portfolio program that doesn't have to be approved by the USDA or the Veteran Association or Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac or anybody or FHA. It's an inside the credit union product. So we keep that within the product or within the credit union. We make our own decisions on that, do our own underwriting, and it's a great product. Just allows you to get in 100% financing. It's got a better rate than what's available out there in the industry by about a quarter to 3/8%, which is a big deal.
Yeah, that's such a great product.
Yeah, it's a great product, and um, the only stipulation is it has a maximum loan amount of 475,000. So if you go over that number, then you'd have to go with one of the other programs that are available out there in the market. But
Most condos, townhomes.
oh yeah, most of the condos and townhomes are going to fit
Yeah, sure.
that category.
Yeah, and a
So
great way to get in and not have to save, because the more you save right now and you're trying to get into a bump in a different program, you're probably losing dollar value between the price increases and the interest rate. So you're better off just to get in as quick as you can, right? Use one of these
oh
programs
yeah,
available to you.
absolutely. Yeah, and one other thing I wanted to mention too is we have an outlet for self-employed people. There's a lot of self-employed individuals right now that are having a hard time getting financing. So if you have your own business, definitely come and talk to us. We have even a bank statement program where if you can show you have uh, reliable and income that's coming in on a
Like a
regular
W-2
basis.
income.
Yeah, it's coming. You're getting the income deposited in your account on a regular basis from your self-employment business. Um, if that isn't going to qualify with the regular tax statements, we can take this bank statement program. And so it's a great way to be able to get in and get a mortgage and get into your home that you want.
There you go. So important to have all these options. And don't feel like, again, you don't need to be masters at all this stuff before you get out shopping. And as you work with Jeff and I, or UCCU and our team, we're going to give you a couple books. Okay. There you go. This is one called Buy Confidently that we give out to everybody we work with. And that's just going to highlight so many experiences and details that clients have gone through, people just like you, and personal experiences where I failed miserably and wish that I just known some of these things, right? Also,
So let me step back. So the author of that little book is this guy right here. and
Right.
he has it's a great it's not like you're reading a novel or something, or it's going to take you a long time to read. It's a quick read, but it gives you some really really great life advice that helps you kind of understand financially how things work. So
Very
I love it.
basic. But again, that book we're going to give you. We also have another incentive if you stay on the end of the call here. And then as well, there's another one here. Put your hands up there, Jeff.
Oh, I don't think I
This
like that.
this one here is just another very
How about
basic
this?
financial book called How Money Works. Good job. That's perfect. And anyways, that one just outlines all the differences of insurance and budgeting and the rule of 72 and compound interest and just very basic financial principles that if you utilize and incorporate into your plan moving forward, you're going to get to a place of retirement and your end goal that you can enjoy a lifestyle so much quicker than if you're not aware or you're ignoring or you avoid these strategies. So as we work together with you, we want to not just get you into a home and move on to the next person. We want to help you build a foundation and a strategy so that you're set up to really, live the life that you have by design, right? And enjoy that because there's a lot of options. And so what got us all into this? So I'll tell you a quick story and help illustrate what a real estate agent does and why that's important. So as I referred to earlier, I finished college back in 2004, and I finally had a degree and I had a W-2 income, meaning I had consistent income that I could show a lender. And finally, after all this work getting through school, I could get a loan. And so, anyways, I had a sales rep job, and I had a local territory, and I was driving through Orem down on 1200 West, and I stopped by this sign I saw in the yard, and it just said for sale by owner. And being a bachelor at the time, this seemed like a really good fit because I had a lot of friends that was going to UVU. And anyway, so I stopped my car. I walked up to the front door and knocked on it. And this gal came out and said hello. So we struck up a conversation. She invited me in. And I started engaging with her. She showed me her house. I told her I was interested. And we started looking around the house, and seemed like it was good enough for what I needed, right? I liked the location and the bed bath count. It was seemed to be a good condition. She told me the price. It was $163,000 back in 2004, and I was stoked because that was a good deal
Yeah.
back then. And so, anyways, as I was leaving, I said, "Hey, listen, I never bought a home, but I think this could work. So I'm just going to call and talk to find a lender that can help me," which I did. So we kind of shook on a price, and I called the lender on my way home,
It
and
wasn't me, unfortunately. I didn't know him back then.
if only, because there was a lot of things that kind of got me into this industry because it was a financially burdensome. So anyway, so the lender quickly gave me a approval letter. He ran my documents. I call her back and I said, "Listen, good news. Can I come back over? When's a good time? I can get the loan, and I'd love to buy your house." So she says, "Oh yeah, come on over. How about this evening?" But one thing you should know: somebody else showed up just after you did, and they said that they would. They said they'd love to buy the house, and they're going to pay. I think it was $10,000 higher than your price. And so I was just like, "Well, what are you talking about? Didn't we make a deal just a minute ago? I was over there and we talked about it and we shook on it and so I'm kind of feeling distrusting already, but I wasn't going to lose that house. It was in a perfect spot. And so, I hadn't even looked at any other ones. So I was very naive, but I just finished college. How hard could it be? Right. I had a contract class, it wasn't that hard to navigate through this. So I just said, well, I'm good. So, and I certainly didn't want to go paying a real estate agent to help me with this transaction. Cause I didn't have hardly any money. In fact, part of the reason I could get this loan is because the lender at the time had a zero down program. It was a Utah housing program,
Mhm.
and I didn't have to come up with any down payment after finishing school. So I show up to her house. We met up at the kitchen table, and she already had a contract. A REPC is what they call it, a real estate purchase contract. She had it laid out on the table, and she already had it filled out before I even got there with the new price that she told me it was 10,000 over what we agreed on. And so we go through it really quick. I find myself initialing every page, and And anyways, and she did too, right on the spot. So I walked out the door, and there it was. I'm ready. It's committed to buy that house, and it was great, and I was excited. And so, anyways, about 3 or 4 weeks down the road, and the lender, after exhausting me with all the things that he was requiring me to submit to him, and so I was engaged doing that the whole time. And what I didn't realize is there was things that I should have been doing as I worked through the
Yeah.
purchase of the home. And so, anyways, 30 days later, I give her a call after I got done signing a big thick pack of papers at the title company. And I get in my car and I get on my cell phone, and she didn't answer. But she texted me back and said, "Hey, great news. Glad you closed. Hey, the key's under the mat in the front door." So I'm like, okay, great. She's probably busy. So I just drove straight over there, got the key, opened the front door, and seemed great. I walked in, and it had been raining for the last 7 days. It was really wet. And as I walked up the front door, I kind of heard some dripping, kind of smelt a little
Oh
bit
no, no
of
dripping.
moisture. And so I walk upstairs around the hall, and there was a swamp cooler. This was a house that was built in the early 70s. And in the hallway was a swamp cooler that there was water dripping down that ducting on the wall, and there was little rippling in the paint, where the
Uh,
water just been constant. It's probably been that way for a month. Anyways, so kind of bummed. Call her again, no answer. To see what she could do to help me. Walk in the kitchen as I was sitting there thinking what the next step would be, and I realized, wait a minute, where's the fridge? She said she was leaving the fridge, and oh my gosh, the dishwasher, that's missing, and so is the oven. So I was like, well, now hang on a minute, this isn't what she talked about, because I remember signing that agreement. We had everything on there. So anyway, short story is I am with a home that didn't have appliances. It had a leaky roof. There's water damage. And as I walked through the home, I started discovering other things that I never had a chance to really inspect or review, because I didn't even know that that was part of the process. So, anyways, I was let down, and I was definitely not in the financial situation to really be able to fix all these things. And so I had to go get help from family members to figure out how to get through this. But anyways, as I talked and got advice from people that I trusted, I had my aunt. I called her, and she said, "Well, Brett, didn't you get a home inspection and or a home warranty, or like what do you mean the appliances were gone? That's like a standardized item in any purchase contract,
yeah,
especially in Utah."
yeah.
So I'm like, are you kidding me? So I'm calling her again, and
Mhm.
like, where is all this stuff? And like, I looked at my contract, and sure enough, it was marked down there, but I already closed, and I didn't know how to unwind it. So, anyways, now I'm buried with all these problems, and I eventually worked through them, but it was a lot different than what I'd hoped for, and it ended up costing. It was 15 to $20,000, but by the time I fixed the damage, replaced the appliances, what she'd agreed to, and now I'm just kind of just working backwards. But I saved a lot of money not using a real estate agent, right? So that's the worst part is I got more and more educated because I'd never done this before. I quickly learned that sellers pay the real estate agents traditionally, not always, but traditionally that's how it works. And even for sell by owners, had I engaged a real estate professional, and I certainly knew a few, if I would have just called and got a better idea what it was worth, because I don't even know if I overpaid for the house. But had I done that, then they would have walked me through the inspections, what I was entitled to in the due diligence process. And they also would have helped me just been very clear on what the real estate purchase contract entailed. But I wouldn't have been trying to navigate this on my own. And back to the point, the seller would have paid for it. And so even if for sell by owner, as long as it's done the right way and in the real estate
Yeah, but you
agents,
would have done that final inspection too and said,
yeah,
bring back those appliances.
right? All of that would have
Right?
happened because I would have
Yeah.
had a final walkthrough, but I didn't know the process. And I was thinking I was going to save 3% of $160,000. That's a chunk, right? So that's 5 grand or whatever it is. I was thinking I was going to be ahead $5,000 by not engaging somebody, but come to find out later, had I done that, you know, over 90% of the time when we work with for sale by owners and the agent approaches them first, we have a high success rate that those sellers are willing to do that deal and pay out that
Yeah.
that amount to the broker. So I
Very.
wasn't doing anybody a favor except for her. So she walked out with the best deal she probably ever could have got. That's a quick story of some of the things that a real estate agent does. What are their responsibility? How are they paid? Now, if there's a home that's listed online that's on utahrealestate.com or generally Zillow or most other sites, 98% of the time there's already in the sales price a real estate brokerage fee or a commission that's built into the price. So you can go forward with full confidence after you hire an agent, so that you know that you don't have to pay in addition for that person's help. They're being compensated by the seller, and oftentimes it actually takes some liability off of the seller and their agent also, because they don't have to. They basically know that buyer's agent has an equal playing field, and they have somebody covering them so that they can, that they're clear and protected. And so if anything did unravel and get sticky, that everybody had what they were entitled to. So that's a little bit about how they're paid. Now there's a lot of differences between real estate agents out there, what they provide. And so as you move forward and you're thinking about buying a home, interview a couple, two or three different agents, and ask them, how long have you been in the industry? How many homes have you been involved in with transactions? What additional services do you provide?
This is really, really important to listen to this part, because if you work with somebody who doesn't have a lot of experience, they might not know how to negotiate, or and that's going to be such a detriment to you when you're trying to find a home. So you do want to go out there and really interview and get to know these people, because I, without getting into some major detail, somebody who's had a lot of experience like Brett and his team, as they go out and they negotiate with these listing agents, these people that are selling their homes, they know all the right questions to ask to find what's going to be the best offer to make on this home. And if you don't ask the right questions, you're not going to have any idea of really what to offer.
That's
And that's
exactly
the
right.
hardest part, is making the right offer, especially in the way the industry is right now.
You've heard it's all over the media. KSL's, there's an article every other week about the housing crisis and about the demand of in inventory and the shortage. And so you're literally going to be up against you're probably at right now a 10-to-1 ratio of 10 buyers to every one seller. And so how are you going to go in strategically to have an offer that's going to win? And so that's part of the experience of who you choose, is what's their track record, how many transactions have they done recently, what other services after you go under contract, what else can you expect? And so anyways, those are some different things that we do. The Wild team has 4 moving trucks and dump trailers and short-term storage. We're very involved in a lot of different sides of things, and as I mentioned earlier in the beginning, is we've built and remodeled so many homes that we can give you very accurate information on real time, right on the spot. As inventory is low, if you don't look creatively on which homes can become the very best fit and evaluate how much it would cost to make another bedroom or to change out the countertops or whatever it is, so that home really becomes your perfect fit, you might be leaving options on the table. And then we're also going to evaluate the return on investment for the dollar you put in versus the dollar you get back out, because it's very, very different. And so I give this quote all the time, but 83% of people's retirement comes from their home equity. And so the better you utilize your equity as you purposely build it and the market increases, you can leverage that into a quicker retirement, fast track your plan amazingly well. And that's my favorite part about real estate, is the ability to leverage and just speed up your overall plan to step by step get you into the home that you want sooner than later. So just a few different things about teams. Understand who you're working with, what additional services.
Well, and I love to tell a little story about the teams and the agents, the difference between the two. And one of the things that really worked out great for me is, if you have an agent, the agent is simply an individual, and if that individual is out of town or has an emergency come up, family emergency or something to that degree, then oh my goodness, how are you going to get to see that home or make that offer on that property? And there was a very specific experience with you. I contacted you and you're out of town. You're like, don't worry about it. I've got Mikkel here can help you out. she'll go and see the house with you today. And we went over to see this home. Had her check on a couple of things with the HOA and whatnot, and we made an offer, and we got that home because we were right on top of it. We were out there looking at the home, but it wouldn't have happened without that team relationship. And so I think it's really important when you're working with a group or an agent that they have access to a team to help you get through and get things done. And it can get really frustrating if you find that home that you really want and your agent's not available, or not available during the time that you need them to be available. Where a team atmosphere of agents can help you get there. So
Yeah,
anyway,
perfect. Go ahead and go to the next slide. So as he's doing that, that's exactly right. There's 15 of us that we collectively make sure that you have the best strategy, that the timing, we can get you in as quick as possible. And we're collaborating constantly on what the market's doing, how you make the best offer, how to be competitive, and really just how to win so that you can get this done before the rates keep getting away from you.
hey, a couple of questions. While James, when you change the screen here, I'm going to answer a couple of questions. We had the Q&A questions on the side shrunk down, so we didn't see these. So I apologize. But somebody said, did you say that debt to income was supposed to be 45%? Yes, I did say that. So we want to keep you 45% or under. And then is that the UCCU 100% program? I was talking to one of our other loan officers, Chad Cronquist, about it. That one is zero down. What was the 2.5% back you mentioned? So that's a Utah housing program that goes up to 102.5% financing and allows you to not only have no down payment, but actually goes 2.5% towards your closing costs as well. And then is the UCCU 100% considered a conventional loan? It's a portfolio loan. It does fall underneath the conventional guidelines because it's under 647,000 for the loan amount. So it is in the conventional realm, but it's strictly called a portfolio loan because it's outside of what the conventional guidelines are.
So basically, it means that that loan isn't sold to Freddie or Fannie, right? At
Fannie or Freddie Mac.
UCCU, this is a product that's provided by you,
Just us and us
credit
alone.
union. That's right.
Yeah, nobody else does it.
Okay. Perfect. So keep putting in your comments or questions. Things to consider when searching for the right home. There's lots of different sites. There's a lot of different ways that you can find properties. And the more and more technology improves and develops, it's giving more and more tools to people like you that you could sit right in your living room or on your phone, and you can really access so many different sites and find inventory. And that's a good thing. And so basically our job is to work together with you to evaluate these homes, to help you negotiate, to help you understand the process, the contracts, all these types of things, so that this really is your asset. It's becoming an asset, not a burden, right? So in addition, you can go to open houses, right? You'll find for sale by owners, which is very similar to what we talked about before in my story. And that's great too. So mainly as you move forward, exhaust every option you can, but also be clear as you're talking to these different options that you're working with somebody. So after you decide you're going to purchase a home, identify that agent that you're going to work with. And then if you go to an open house, let people know that you're working with someone. Because a lot of times when you see those flags in the weekends and there's all this marketing that's trying to steer you in the door, what's happening is the seller's agent who's putting on that open house, he represents the seller and he's trying to get the very best deal for the seller, of course, but he's also hoping that unrepresented buyers or people that don't claim to be working with an agent, they love those type of buyers because basically they're able to work directly with you. And if they can get this transaction completed and get you to negotiate and purchase this home, they're loving it because now they get to make the buyer side of the commission as well. So they basically make more money if you come without an agent, but all in the same time, their interest is more contractually. They have a fiduciary responsibility to protect the seller. So there might be a situation where there's some things that might not be disclosed as accurately, or maybe there's no benefit for them because they're representing the seller to get as much money for the seller. They're not really watching out for you. And if you're paying too much for the home, or if there's things that weren't disclosed properly, it's basically you're on your own. But I'm the seller's agent and I'm going to get paid more. So it's great, right? So you want to know how this works. So every time you go to an open house, just give them a card. Say, hey, listen, I'm working with the Wild team, and I'm just going to look around, and then he'll get back with you. They'll get back with you as far as if there's additional questions. There's also sites like Zillow. Okay, Zillow, frankly, has one of the very best user face sites out there, and they pay more marketing dollars. They come up on the top of almost every search engine because they spend the most amount of money, and their sites are great. However, as you look on those, frequently you're gonna find a home that you fall in love with, you like it, you reach out to us and you ask us, hey, listen, I'm really interested in that really nice yellow home that's there on Main Street. Can you get me an appointment? Well, so often we call and we research that home and it's already gone under contract or sold, and sometimes weeks or months before, because all these agents that put their listings on Zillow, well, they are spending a lot of money on a monthly basis to secure these zip codes, and that's why when you are a buyer, you look on Zillow, and if you click on a home, oftentimes there's a rotation of 2 or 3 different agents that are paying to get exposure in that zip code, or their homes that agent's listed. Well, they know if they keep that home on, even though that it's gone under contract or sold, now they can capture you as a buyer and potential lead. So they're going to increase their return on their spend, right? So
Yeah, the typical response when that Zillow agent reaches out to you and say, or you reach out to them or whoever, right? They're going to say, "Oh yeah, that home. It's unfortunately it's been sold, but hey, let's take a look at you and see what other homes we can get you into." And then suddenly they're drawing you in and making you their client. So it's the you know bait and switch kind of
well,
scenario a lot of
yeah,
time.
but there is very good information on Zillow, and it's certainly something to keep your eye out on. And they're not always under contract or sold, but that's how it works. And the homes just often are not actually available anymore.
Well, I think
Um,
the better sites to go to are the ones that are directly linked to Utah real estate, right?
Yep. So
So,
yeah, for example, wildteam.com is our site, married right into the MLS, which is utahrealestate.com. So anytime listing is generated, it goes right live on the MLS and it syndicates to all these other sites that the brokerages have, right? And that's Remax and Keller Williams and every single agency out there. They basically promote all the active listings. So and there's tools that help save you time instead of chasing down your email or your laptop or your phone, and whenever you have a break and you're scrolling through to see what else has come up. We can get a lot more specific on the back end of our site. So if you need a fenced yard, or if there's a percentage of your basement that needs to be finished, or if you need a walkout basement, or if there's a certain type of roof that you want, we can get a lot more specific on the back end than you'll be able to on the front end as you do searches. So we can help streamline and make it more efficient. So we're actually targeting the homes that you need. And then we put you on some different property alerts that as these homes come
oh,
up,
I love the property alerts.
they're very effective because they're targeted to what you asked for, and right when they hit, you get dinged right on your email. You can pull it up, schedule a time right through our website, and then our team of agents, between one of us, we're going to get you in so that you have a chance to bid on that before it goes under contract.
And you can tour the home too. You can go right through and see all the photos of the home and see all the information about the house and property taxes usually, and there's an HOA and what that is and all these different things. And it's I love those little property searches, and just there's no you're not doing any work on your end. You've already just kind of plugged it in. It's just automatic once a day. It's just coming to you every day.
That's
I
right.
love it. I love it.
Yep, it's convenience. So the last one, other brokerages. There's lots of different platforms out there that advertise to have different models. And so, anyways, we'll discuss those more specific to your situation. But just like anything else in life, when something's extremely discounted, somewhere along the process, either at the beginning or the end, there's value that's been stripped off. Okay, so what's most
It's
important to us,
that's very wise. That's very true.
it's yeah, right. So
Yeah.
as we meet with you and discuss, we're not just trying to find a home for you. We're really just trying to help you build a plan and streamline and insert the very best value as you're moving along, and we build a path so that you can really get to retirement or enjoy that dream home. And we have that vision with you, your family, your kids, and we're really trying to educate you through the relevant experience that's happening in the market so that we can help you get the very best result long term. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. So anyway, you can tell we love what we do. This is a lot of fun. Personally, I've owned now just over 50 homes, and we've done, this year we'll do 250 transactions as a team. So we're always kind of top of what's happening out there to stay relevant. And then that leads into how to place an offer. Okay, you're probably going to be competing against multiple people right now, and it's never been harder than what it is today. And I really don't envy buyers right now. It's tough, and a lot of times you're paying over the purchase price, and you're having to put hard money up front. Hard earnest money, meaning your earnest money that you put down is non-refundable right when you have your offer accepted. But it's so case by case, and if you don't take the time to understand what the seller needs, what's most important to them, how are you going to build out these key strategies, as it's mentioned down here, right? So we have a 7-step strategy that we utilize, and it's given us a very high success ratio as we work with people like you, so that you can get in, take advantage of that interest rate, and you can move on to what's most important in your life. Because we know that shopping for a home is, it's fun for the first little bit, but pretty soon it becomes very inconvenient, and your life and what you're used to is very displaced. So the quicker and more efficient that you can get in and get out, the better you're going to be, right? So in addition, besides the strategies, is you work with a good team. We have a lot of off-market properties that are getting ready to be listed, and other pocket listings, what we call them, just people that we know.
That's a huge benefit.
That's right.
To get it before it's even on the market. Oh my gosh.
It helps so much. And that's an advantage of our relationship with UCCU, is we've got such a large database of activity, and just a reach out there, that we're hearing of opportunities that people are out there that are ready to sell, and we've had discussions with them, and so they're on our radar, but they're not even listed yet. So there's some things there that we can help you with. So yeah, there's the step-by-step strategy that we'll go over when we meet together. We'll highlight those in person. When you do put an offer in, the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to put down earnest money. Okay, that's basically a sum of money. It's usually 1 to 2% of the purchase price amount. It gets held in a trust account. Okay, and it's basically held there as a referee, so that you, as the buyer, you uphold what you've agreed to in the contract, and it holds the seller accountable, so they do what they say. So they can't just break contract and go sell it to somebody else. You can't just walk away after you've agreed to certain things, or you're going to lose that earnest money, right? So anyways, it's held in a trust account, so it's safe. But when you close, that earnest money is applied towards your down payment. So it goes towards your house.
Yeah.
But whereas
that's really important. You don't lose the money. Money doesn't disappear. Once you close on the home, then that money gets applied toward whatever you had to come to close with. So if you had $2,000 in earnest money and there was 10,000 to come to close with, then you'd only have 8 left over that you'd actually have to come to close with now.
That's right. Now there are some situations where you could lose that earnest money, and if you're not doing what you agreed to, and a lot of the offers that are winning right now are buyers that are willing to sacrifice some of that earnest money up front and give the sellers a little more assurance. But we'll have these discussions and make sure that you understand what your risk is, and you'll make the decision of what you're comfortable with and what you're willing to do to win that offer. But again, going back to that story that I started with, is I gave that earnest money check directly to that seller, and I didn't even know how this works. So really, at any given time, I probably couldn't have got that back had I not been able to perform, or if my loan didn't go through, I would have lost that chunk of money. And that was literally everything that I could scrape together to even come up with that earnest money. So just know that that's how it works. We're gonna be the custodians over that money. We're gonna make sure that it's protected. So as we move through the purchase contract and we talk about earnest money, then we're going to talk about the purchase price. We're going to talk about the different the loan product that you're going to pursue is going to be outlined in the purchase contract. The inclusions is another piece. I mentioned earlier that the appliances. So typically, when you have a purchase contract here in Utah, anything that is attached to the home, if you were to take the house, turn it upside down and shake it, right? It's just an easy analogy. Anything that sticks to the house remains attached is a fixture and it's included automatically, right? Even the alarm system. If it's screwed to the wall and it's attached, all the light fixtures, the cabinets, all those things, it's included in a standard boilerplate contract unless it's specifically excluded or modified, right?
So stoves, dishwashers.
That's the only thing that's may have a question if it's included or not. But in the purchase contract also is a stove, microwave as long as it's attached. So if it's inside the cabinet space above the range, that's included. The range also, of course, is included. Now the fridge, you have to specify if that's going to be included or excluded. Same with the washer and dryer. In my case, we agreed to it, but then she took it. But anyways, like these types of things, you just want to be clear on what you're asking for. You can also ask for different random things in the house if you want to include that in the contract, and we'll talk through those things. Moving on, there's a lot of language in there that basically outlines who's going to get the earnest money under what situations or what conditions. And so we're gonna be very clear with each other so you know what your risk is and what the seller's risk would be if they don't fulfill their terms. And then of course we have deadlines associated. So your first deadline, I think you can go ahead and switch the slide and it'll outline our deadlines. But our first deadlines are the seller's disclosures, okay? So within usually 2 or 3 days, by contract, the sellers need to give us a 7-page document that outlines everything they know about the house. This is their opportunity to basically, you can get inside their head and know if there's ever been any insurance claims or if they've ever rented the home illegally or if there's ever been any remodel work that was done without a permit, if there's any hazardous material that's been stored, if there's any zoning problems or lot line disputes. All these things, there's going to be questions that's provided to you. And of course, we got to rely on the honesty of the seller, but at least you get a chance to evaluate that. Then you get to verify as you do your own due diligence. So you'll use the seller disclosures and you'll have a due diligence deadline, which is generally a couple of weeks where you get to do that home inspection that I wish I'd done. And that inspector can basically test drive that home. He's going to flip on all the outlet or the light switches, test the outlets. He's going to run a cycle in the dishwasher. He's going to get on the roof. He's got moisture meters and they've got radar detectors to be able to see inside the walls if there's been any moisture. There's meth, there's, you name it. There's all these different tests along the way, termite inspections. There's as many things that you need to feel confident about to move forward so that you're not left with an expensive problem that I described, right? So that's all what you're entitled to within due diligence. Also, whenever you buy, if you're going to use one of these UCCU 100 programs and you're under that 475 limit, it's very likely that you're going to buy a townhome or a condo, which generally there's an HOA associated. So anytime that you have a unit or a property that shares a wall or a roof line, those are usually in an HOA, and HOAs have their own body of government that collects money from you because everybody shares the ownership of common space. So you want to understand what the bylaws are and what additional restrictions are in that community. How strong are their financials? There's lots of stories where these builders have built up these communities so quickly, and there was steps that were missed, and there was homeowners that moved in and they had sinking driveways, and the laterals for the water line came in and they ended up leaking because the pressure of the driveway maybe separated the line and their basements flooded, or you name it. There's been shoddy builders that have gone bankrupt, and they're not there to stand their warranty any longer. And we got to understand if there's a lawsuit in place or how strong these people are financially or these communities. So that's all part of our due diligence. Also, we're going to receive all the title work from as we're working with the title company to make sure that there's no liens or judgments or encumbrances on those homes. So all part of the due diligence. We're going to spoon feed you every step along the way, so you don't have to be You don't have to have your master's or doctorate in real estate contracts or the process, right?
Right.
Home warranties. These are great. And that's a different product that we can negotiate to be included in your purchase contract, where you basically
Love home
get.
warranties. They saved my bacon a bunch of times.
They're so convenient.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've had dryers go out, refrigerators, little issues that'll pop up. Contact the home warranty. It's taken care of.
So, and there are stipulations that they have with those, but really it's nice because you just spent your money on your closing costs and your down payment. And a lot of times there's not a lot left over and you don't want to pull from your emergency fund. You got to stay, healthy financially. But these home warranties are basically a 1 year coverage. When something does happen, you pay a small $69 deductible typically, and that home warranty company's got you covered. And you don't even have to be a new homeowner, by the way. You can renew these for
Yeah,
as
you
many
can.
years as you want, and you can just keep one of these in place. And that's a great additional supplemental insurance policy for your home. Okay, because your home, again, it's going to be probably your most expensive asset, but it's also going to be your best asset that's going to make you the most amount of money as you maintain and you basically utilize it with a plan and a purpose.
Right.
So and then anything else inside the due diligence, the way that the purchase contract is written, it's up to the buyers and their sole discretion. You guys can cancel for whatever reason that you can come up with. It's never going to be questioned. As long as your offer is conditioned upon the buyer's due diligence, you can cancel if you're not happy with anything you find out up to the due diligence deadline, and you can get all your earnest money back. Okay. So another piece that I wish I'd known earlier, financing and appraisal deadline. So that's the next deadline that we're going to pass after the due diligence deadline. By that time, it's usually 3 weeks in, and that deadline's coming up. You're going to be hearing from our transaction coordinator, and they're going to be giving you all the information along the way. And that's when we reach out to Jeff.
Yeah, that's me. So from the time you got under contract, I've been working with you at this point to get all the initial documents signed, collect any remaining items to get into underwriting. We've also ordered title report and appraisal, and if there's an HOA, we're getting the condo certification report and their financials. And we've taken all of that and we've had all of that reviewed in underwriting, and they've come back and maybe they have a few additional conditions for us. And we've collected those from you, and we've got you all approved on your loan. So that's very important for us as a lender. We're very just to us, that is the most important date in everything that's going on, is to make sure that your loan is 100% good to go before we get to that financing and appraisal deadline. And we're usually pretty far ahead of that date, but it's something that we want to make sure that you're always protected by and watch those dates.
You're going to have a lot of stuff going on between the documents you're getting over to Jeff and UCCU, trying to take care of your personal lives and your job. There's just a lot of movements as you're trying to just work through the logistics of moving from one place to another. So part of our responsibility is going to just make sure that we're watching these dates. We're letting you know where we're at, what your risk is all the time, every step along the way, so that basically as these deadlines come up, we're confident we can move forward and we don't have to sweat it. So don't worry too much about that. We're going to be watching these with you. Definitely. And we'll be alerting you along the way. So we're going to pass the financing and appraisal deadline now confidently. Now closing is generally a week away, right? So now is when we get ready to schedule a time to go to the title company, sign off on that big stack of papers to commit to pay the loan off. But also before that, up to 7 days before closing, now we're entitled to go back through the home, and we're going to walk through and make sure that if the sellers agreed to do any repairs or changes to the home that we negotiated in the due diligence because of things we may have found on the inspection report, we get to do that. And also we get to make sure that the appliances are there and there's no new leak or problem with the home that wasn't there when we originally walked through. So we want to do that before you close. So when you do close, you don't have all these added expensive and
Which you went through.
yeah,
Yeah.
that would have been
Save
nice.
you
Had
from
I
that
just
pain.
done that, I mean, that was such a big piece that I missed. So anyways, we got you covered, and we'll make sure that all this happens. let's go to the next slide there, James. So what happens after you close? It generally takes another day for all your documents get to be signed, submitted back to the lender. Then the lender releases the funds. You've wired in your down payment money. Then a day later, then the home records, which now officially is yours. You'll get your keys. We'll walk you through how to get those keys. We're going to walk you through where to go to get your utilities and your mail set up.
Yeah, you've got a whole like sheet ready for them to go.
Yeah, it's just you just go off the checklist we're going to provide you. But so this is where it gets important, because now you're going to be a homeowner, and now you're every salesperson's favorite target, because uh, so many of the salespeople that are out there knocking doors in neighborhoods, they're selling security alarms, solar panels, HVAC systems, landscaping, yard maintenance. You're basically everyone's favorite person, because
Yep.
that's basically where the whole economy is generated from, is home ownership, right? So there's things that you should do to maintain your best asset, and there's things that if you do, you're probably going to be spending $1 and getting maybe $0 back. Maybe you're getting 10% of that. Maybe you're getting, more than that. But for example, solar is, I hear all the time from different solar salesmen that, hey, you put these solar panels on your roof, you're not just going to save on utilities, but you've just increased the value of your home by the cost of those solar panels, which might be $30,000 or $40,000. Well, that is entirely untrue.
No, that's not right.
This most every transaction I've ever been involved in, if the seller has solar panels, they're either going to be going to be required to pay those off, or well, frankly, I've never seen a deal where that loan transferred over to the buyers and they did it. So it could happen, but generally speaking, that's kind of how that goes. The same thing if you were to you want to say something?
Well, yeah. One of the things that gets complicated with solar panels on the lender side of things is that in order to look at properties correctly, when an appraisal is done on the property, you have to look at homes that are comparable. So that means every home that is going to be looked at has to be sold with solar panels. Well, that can be a little bit difficult because not everybody has solar panels.
That's true.
And so depending on how much those homes sold for can affect the value of what you're getting on that property.
And
So
in addition, if they go and put those panels on your house, there's a loan that's taken, they'll put a lien on your home, and a lot of title companies and some lenders won't be able to lend on that if there's a lien on that property. Solar panels aren't a bad thing, okay? They're a good thing. You just want to know how it really does affect your value, what your plan and timeline to own that home is, because if you're going to buy those panels or upgrade that furnace because your furnace went out and the salesperson came in and sold you the Cadillac of HVAC systems with a 98%,
yeah,
with the 120,000 BTU. They're gonna sell you the best product because they make the most amount of money. But the reality is, if you turned around and sold your home the week after, you wouldn't see a dime difference if you had a new furnace that was the cheapest furnace and it worked really well versus the most expensive furnace that you spent $15,000 to $20,000 more for the system.
appraisers don't care.
No,
Not part of their.
and buyers generally don't know the difference either. And so, anyways, or they don't know to look at that. But just have a resource that you can call and say, hey, listen, I'm thinking about spending more than $1,000. Brett, is this a good idea? Is there a better option? Is this a good company I should consider? Because we're not just going to say yes or no. We're going to ask you additional questions like, well, how long do you plan on owning a home? Why are you looking at that product? What benefits are you looking to provide as a solution? Like, what are your needs? Based off all these questions, then we're going to be able to navigate and steer you in the right direction so that you really can get the best return on investment on these expensive choices, right? So
You guys are great about that. That really is a great resource that you do because you're not just doing the transaction and saying, thanks for letting us be your realtor. Have a good life. No, you want to be there you want to be their financial partner for their entire lifetime and help them make these decisions that'll help their, value of their property be increased as much as possible, and all of that. So
That's
yeah,
right. And that frankly is my personal favorite part about our profession and our industry, if it's done correctly, is how do you help people leverage and get the very best return on investment from their that greatest asset they have. So anyways, it's a lot of fun, and there's a lot of tools out there that is available to you, like a home equity line of credit and different ways that you can utilize the equity that's growing in your home, and you can leverage that and invest it and duplicate and use some really cool strategies that we can visit about. Go ahead and take the next slide, Jeff.
or James.
James. Yes, James.
Just
Thank you, James. And so, anyways, and another one, we're actually doing an investment seminar here next week, but we highlight that side of things, which is very different than just buying a personal residence, is the investment side of it. So powerful. And so there's four quadrants of ways that you can make money when you invest in real estate that's very different from just the stock market. And the first one is what most people think of is, well, how much money do I make in rent that's above and beyond my cost basis, my mortgage payment, right? If my mortgage payment's $1,000 and I get $1,200 in rent, I make $200. Well, so that's your cash flow section. And in today's market, it's getting harder and harder to get a cash flow return because where the rates and the prices are. But there's some really cool other pieces. The other three, you can really make a strong return. Your mortgage pay down. If you've got a renter in there, that's paying your mortgage. Well, who's paying down the principal?
They are.
It's not you.
Yeah.
Right? If you're
It's
my
the
renter,
it's the renter. Renter's doing it for you.
right? And generally 2/3 of your payment goes towards the interest, and 1/3 generally goes towards your principal. And that fluctuates over the life of your loan. But if you've got somebody basically paying down, if you have $1,000 mortgage and you've got whatever that is, $300 going towards your principal reduction every month, well, that's great. That's $300 times 12. That's $3,600 a year that you just gained in equity. The third thing is your asset appreciation. So on average, last year, did you know that the market went up 28%?
That's crazy.
And so if you put a down payment in, okay, you put a down payment in and say 20%, and you buy a $300,000 investment property, what's 20% of 300,000? 60,000. Well, the $300,000 property went up by 28%.
That's almost 90.
That's almost 90,000. So you put in 60, your property value went up 90. So you basically, what's the return from 90 to your $60,000? That's not a bad return. So that's the beauty of the leverage, how you can leverage this stuff, right? Asset, so appreciation and inflation, that's how that works. And then there's other advantages, depending on your tax bracket, that other 2/3 of your payment, right? So that other $700-ish, that's going to be interest that's now you're able to deduct on your taxes. Now, I'm not a CPA. It does depend on your tax bracket, but you'll probably enjoy another $2,000 to $3,000 a year in tax savings because you had this home. Okay. So anyways, there's all these different advantages. Once you add them all together, I mean, we're seeing our clients on average are getting anywhere between 40 and 60% between all four quadrants. And there was a deal that we did this week of a clear out in Vernal. And literally, we have this calculator that we use, and our clients were at 115% annual return on investment from their cash infusion, from their down payment.
Whoa,
It's insane.
that's
And
so
and there's
awesome.
deals out there. So, anyways, this is really fun stuff to learn, and you'll learn more of it. But anyways, as we go on to the next slide, we just wanted to say thank you so much for meeting with us, to spend time with us. Your time's valuable.
Yeah,
And
there are a couple
there
of
any other questions we need to hit?
Yeah, it was underneath the chat section, which we missed. But this is a really good question. So, and please throw them in the question and answer or the chat section, and we'll answer any of your questions now. But I love this question. Somebody said, if one person in a couple doesn't have a credit score and the other has a credit score of a 790, can the couple still get qualified for conventional loan? And surprisingly, the answer is yes, but depends. So the trick is we put in the information, and if we get an approval through the automated underwriting system for Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, if that comes in with an approval, then all we have to do is follow the guidelines on that. And depending on who has the credit score, you might have to show some non-traditional credit options. So there's the question answer down there. You can click on that. And the arrow. And so like non-traditional credit item might be maybe you're paying rent somewhere else. We could use that. Maybe your cell phone bill or some other item. We can use those to fulfill those things. So you may have to have some additional payments that you're making somewhere that don't traditionally show up on your credit report. But yeah, we can do that particular item. So very cool. And then somebody else said in the chat section, hey, do you just work within Utah County? No, we actually work anywhere in the state of Utah, and with Brett's team. But lending wise, UCCU can lend to all 50 states. So we have lots of different options. Now, the UCCU 100 program that we talked about earlier, that's only good for Utah, and so is Utah Housing. You can hear it from the name. That's just a Utah product, but we do lend in all 50 states, so we can help there. And then let's see, what's this one? How much would you advise to have set aside for multiple inspections throughout the home buying process?
So that's a good question. So generally your home inspection, your base price is $400 to $500, and that's going to give you like the most basic information. There's all these different a la carte add-ons that you can get that could range all the way up. There's usually $100 per one. That you could spend $1,000 or more depending on the size of your home. But we'll give you advice based off how old the home is or things that we're trained to see, we're used to seeing. So as we wrap up, I don't know that there's any more comments that we haven't hit, but let's just remember, just because you're on the call, thanks so very much, and we really appreciate it. Make sure you let us know that you found us here from the webinar. You are eligible for $1,000 closing cost credit that we each throw in $500 towards. So bring that up. That's thank you for coming in, as well as something else will be very beneficial for you. That's not going to cost anything. Is send us an email. Add Jeff and I on there. Let us know what kind of home you're looking for. Let us know what other questions you have. Let us get you on a rhythm, on a property alert, because even if you're not going to be in the market for another 6 or 8 months, get on a property alert. Once we set it, we can basically have that tool in place for you. So you'll start getting the rhythm of the market. You get used to that, and you're going to start learning what kind of prices you can expect. And you'll just basically be more prepared and ready for when timing is right. Okay.
Yeah,
so
very, very good advice. I love that advice because the rhythm of the market is a key factor on that. As you start to see these properties coming on a regular basis, you get an idea of are the prices going up or down? Where's a little bit more expensive area than another area? And so yeah, it's I would recommend to everybody to get on one of those little deals so you can see what's going on.
absolutely. But anyway, that's all we have. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for spending the time, and we'll look forward to reaching out to you all individually and making sure we customize the process to you.
Appreciate you joining us tonight, and have a great night, and look forward to talking to you guys in the future. Good night.